Good Shabbos, everyone. Just have a few announcements before we start our services. First of all, I'd like to give a warm welcome to Allison Bluestein. who is going to be our cantorial soloist for this evening. She is from Southern California. She comes to us by way of her sister, Cantor Lisa Weiss. She has 17 years of experience as a cantorial soloist in California and is also a very talented photographer. We're so excited to welcome her to our synagogue. Please remain after services for our compelling conversation with special guests, Monitor Ira Day Sternberg and Michael Green, Associate Professors of History at UNLV. He has written several books on Las Vegas, and we are excited to welcome them both to discuss the history of the Jews and their role to the building of the Sin City, Las Vegas. Sisterhood Holiday Bazaar is back. This Sunday, come check out over 40 vendors, a cookie court, and tons of family fun from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Don't forget the CN gift shop as well for all your Hanukkah needs. Later that evening at 7 p.m., CNT is hosting a panel of Interfaith Council. This week's topic is My Faith's Teaching about Gender Roles with the Faith and in Society. Rabbi Axelrod will be joining in the discussion. Let us show them all our support. A familiar face is coming back here to our shul for the weekend of November the 22nd. We are thrilled to welcome back Rabbi Olsheim as our scholar in residence. As a congregant, she was inspired to become a rabbi, and on Saturday she will have a lunch and learn discussing the ancient Sidrim and how it impacts the lives of today. It is time to order your 2020 Maha cards. Mahajan. I don't play it, so I don't know. The cards are $8, and the larger ones are $9. Please send your check made payable to CNT to the office. Attention, Sandy Stolberg, no later than June the 25th. And happy playing. We are excited to let you know that Becky Mann will be joining us on Friday, November the 29th at 7 p.m. for Shabbat in the Round. Come join us for this beautiful Shabbat service filled with poise and music and with a special familiar face. And in closing, I would like to thank the Coomer family for sponsoring this week's Oni in honor of Gavin's bar mitzvah tomorrow morning. Good Shabbos and Shabbat Shalom.
Well, good Shabbos, everyone. It is going to be a special Shabbat. First of all, you may notice that Cantor is not with us. She's pleased to announce she did have a baby boy. Yay! So his name is Baby Boy Hutchings, because until the bris, she's not going to say the name, so it's Baby Boy Hutchings. I thought Ishkabibble could work, but it's Baby Boy Hutchings. So she begins her maternity leave, and so each week we have surprise visitors and guests. So this is Allison Bluestein, and she is a longtime cantorial soloist in Los Angeles, and she has sung in many different synagogues and has been a cantorial soloist for 18 years. But now I have to give you the introduction quiz, and she gave me permission to do this. So here's the first question. Is Allison related to Al Capone, Lady Gaga, or Lizzie Weiss? All right, all of you who thinks Al Capone, raise your hand. We have a few for Al Capone. Lady Gaga, both singers, and Cantor Lizzie Weiss. And the answer is Lizzie Weiss. Okay. She, by profession now, has decided not to pursue her musical career. Instead, she is a professional photographer, often photographing celebrities in Hollywood. True or false, she has photographed Bradley Cooper. Raise your hand if you think she's photographed Bradley Cooper. No, sorry. True or false, raise your hand if you think she has photographed Ice-T. True. True. True or false, she has photographed Ed O'Neill. You know, from Married with Family? Ed O'Neill? No. True or false, she has photographed Ed Asner. Yes, that is true. All right. And she has 2 dogs. This is the last quiz question. The names of the dog, Florida and Bucky, Indiana and Charlie, Fred and Astaire. You see? You see? I can influence them in a second. Indiana and Charlie. All right. Well, we welcome her, and we're delighted she'll be with us tonight and tomorrow for the bar mitzvah of Gavin. But to start off things, she said she wanted to teach us a little nigun, so let's have at it. Here we go.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. So happy to be here with you. I want to teach you a little nigun, and we're going to teach you the nigun that we're then going to use shortly. So everybody start with this. Can everybody say yada dai dai? Fantastic. So this is how it goes. It goes like this. Yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai, yada dai, yada dai. Anybody ever heard this before? Fantastic. Let's do it together then. Let's just go over just the nigun, no words. Yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai, yada dai, yada dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai, yada dai, yada dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai. So remember it for just a little bit.
We turn in our Siddur to page 120. And as we usher in the Shabbat, we turn to the candle lighting, and we invite Maddie and Sarah Coomer for this honor.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lechadlik ner shel Shabbat.
124. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured. a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. So we take a few moments to turn to the person next to us, perhaps behind us or in front, and introduce yourselves. Wish them good Shabbos. All right, 138, we continue with Lachado D, greeting the Sabbath bride.
There's that nigun again. Sing along with me. Yada da da. Yada da da da. Yada da da da. Yada da yada da yada da. Yada da. Yada da 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 da. Yada da da da. Yada da da da. Yada da yada da yada da. Yada da. Yada da da. Lechadodi likrat kala yada da yada da yada da pnei Shabbat nekabela lechadodi likrat kala yada da yada da yada da pnei Shabbat nekabela shamor vezachor b'dibur echad hishmiyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem multiferet ve'litchila lechadoti likrat kala yalala yalala yalalai pnei Shabbat nekabela lechadoti likrat kala yadada 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise and face the door. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvtsolach toch emunei am segulam boi kala. Everybody, lechadoti likrat kala, yadada, 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 pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Lechadoti likrat kala, yadada, 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 pnei Shabbat, nekabela.
So we turn to page 144. I'd like to invite our bar mitzvah, Gavin, to come lead us in the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikeda v'yikeda shemei rabba b'ma divrach hirute v'yam lich malchute b'chayechan u'mechan uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael b'gala bakala uvisman kariv veimeru amen. Yeheshme rabba mevarach le'alam umameyamaya yibarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala shemei dekudasha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiram be'ama ve'imeru amen.
We rise for the Baruch Hu 146.
Yada da da da, 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 yada da da da. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Le'ed. Yada da 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 da. Yada da da da. Yada da da da. Yada da da. Yada da da. Yada da da da. Yada da da da. Yada da da da. Yada da da da.
As we turn the page. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu uvechumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
Ma Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך וברכך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, amen.
(157), we continue responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then we shall rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar ba'kodesh, nora
Please rise for the Amidah on page 164. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. Adonai sefatai tifta ufia gite hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha-El HaGadol, HaGibor v'Chanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imaot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo Be'achava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagain, Baruch atah Adonai, V'chaye Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah, atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol, atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach u'Merid HaGashem, Mechakel Hayim b'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol b'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim v'Rofeh Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidol Melach, Melech Memid, Umachayer, Umasmi'a Yeshua, V'ne'emana Talecha Hayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kdoshim b'chol yom yechalucha sela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We continue praying at our own individual pace, page 171 through page 178. As you complete your prayers at that time, be seated. This week, especially, we have Jerusalem and Israel in our minds. We pray for peace there. 371 is Misha Berach. So we take a few moments to think of those in our circle of family and friends who are in need of our prayers. We think also for those who are caregivers, who give of themselves to care for those in need. We pray for those who have afflictions of the heart, mind, struggle with addiction too. And so if you'd like to say the names of people in your circle of love, please stand and say their names, as many names as you would like. Now we stand as a community, arm in arm, heart in heart, as we join together in our Misha Berach prayer. Don't sit just yet. No. 586, Elena, we're going to do compelling conversations at the end. 586, we remain standing for Elena.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula le'otzer bereshit, shelo ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu, vekor aleinu kechol hamonam, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך
הוא. 598. We think of those who have passed away in recent days: Richard Satz, Mark Gomez, Art Ruiz, Murray Rosenthal, Barbara Glomsky, Bert Molensky, Gary Downs, and Shirley Murko. We recall those whose yortzeit is this week: my father of blessed memory, Rabbi Sidney Axelrod, Jeanette Beer, Elaine Bernbarg, Harold Buddy Darling, Meyer Fagan, Mark Neal Feston, Jackie Fleekop, Jerry Giddle, Harry Hirsch, Anna Haytow, Harold Katz, Bert Collins, Max Collins, Milton Kranitz, Marks 11, Janice Liebling, Eddie Marshall, Nola Milliken, Ida Malinsky, Sarah Moreno, William Moses, Lance Maxim Parnas, Anita Rappaport, Francis Ross, Mildred Roth, Alex Ruiz, Peter Sassner, Dania Schall, Mildred Schiffman, Jeffrey Schifrin, Otto Schiller, Fanny Schreiman, Julia Ann Sklar, Philip William Sklar, Melvin Cerno, Joseph Waterman, Edwin Weinberg, Mark Weissman, and Gita Wizig. If you would like to recall the name of someone who was not mentioned, please stand and say their name. As we think of all these who have touched our hearts, we rise to recite our Kaddish prayer. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, b'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedachol beit Yisrael, b'agalav v'zman kari v'yimaru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekusha b'richu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tush v'chata v'nechemata, damiram b'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. So tonight we are not going to have our traditional receiving line. Instead, in order to give a little bit more time for compelling conversations, we're going to have the Kiddush and Motzi right here. So we are in the month of November. So November birthdays or anniversaries, come on up. Anyone? Birthdays, anniversaries in November, come on up. Anyone in religious school, come on up. Anyone who has a name, come on up. Yeah. I mean, I'm getting desperate here, you guys. I'm dying up here. All right, go on over there. Go on. Bar mitzvah, you're up there. All right, good. Come on up. While they are coming up, I'm going to give you a reminder. I don't know if it was in the announcements. Sunday, after the Hanukkah Bazaar, in the evening at 7 o'clock, what's happening? Was it in the announcements? Was it? This is your quiz. 7 o'clock, right here, we have an interfaith discussion. We have a panel, and we are the proud host, which means we are supposed to bring the good percentage of people coming Sunday night. No pressure, but Sunday night it is a panel discussion on gender, and it will have several, I think 5 different religious perspectives. So hope to see you here tonight, 7 p.m. Okay, Allison, you ready? Bar mitzvah, Gavin, you ready? Gavin, there's a Kiddush cup right there for you, the sparkly one. Here we go. They're taking a vote over there. All right. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Amen. Okay, everyone has it? Okay.
Everybody has color? Ready?
Motzi lechem min haaretz.
We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices join in happy chorus as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
And now we are going to switch gears for compelling conversations. Our moderator, Ira Sternberg, our special guest, Michael Green. So please come on up.
If we had a curtain, you wouldn't see all of that. So. Well, good evening. Shabbat Shalom. My name is Ira David Sternberg, and I have the opportunity each week to talk to celebrities, entertainers, writers, and personalities who make Las Vegas the most exciting city in the world on the website talkaboutlasvegas.com. And one of the people I've talked with is a gentleman to my right, Michael Green, who is associate professor. Thank you very much. Associate professor of history at UNLV's Department of History. I was going to keep it short because we only have a limited time, but the rabbi gave me a 9-page bio on Michael, so I'm going to give you a little bit more about him.
I didn't know I'd done that.
You did, you have. He is the
Just
author
keep
of,
it to the first 8 pages.
Yes, okay, fair enough. The author of several books on the Civil War and on Nevada history, including Nevada, A History of the Silver State. He's published a history of the Las Vegas Jewish community, which is apropos of tonight, in The Peoples of Las Vegas, and a biography of Hank Greenspun in the Maverick Spirit, Building the New Nevada in 1998. There's much, much more about Michael, but then we'd be out, as we said, we'd be out of time. So the rabbi you know, so I'm not saying anything about him. Fair?
We can't do a quiz or something?
Okay,
That's
a quiz.
All right,
How
the name
long
of my
has
dog.
Rabbi Axelrod been at Ner Tamid?
Oh, that's
1
a good
year,
quiz.
10 years, or 100 years? Which is it? 100 years, absolutely correct.
Okay, that's an old question.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the title of our compelling conversation is From Sand to Sequence, How the Jews Built Las Vegas. And I'm going to start off by looking at it on a macro level with Dr. Green, because that's his official title, but I'm going to call him Michael. And then the rabbi is going to talk about some of the Jewish values inherent in the contributions of Jews to the building of Las Vegas. So, Michael, let's start with you and the fact that there was actually a Jewish contribution to the building of Las Vegas in the 19th century.
Yes, years ago, there was a new editor at the Jewish Reporter who said, I'd like you to do a story on the early Jews of Las Vegas, which I thought might have meant Jews who were supposed to be here at 8 and got here at 7:45. And she said, well, I'd like you to do the 19th century. And I said, there's one. which was true, but he was an important one. Solomon Carvalho, who was a photographer and artist with John C. Fremont, not on the first trip Fremont took through here, but actually the second trip in 1853, and his reaction to Las Vegas was, avoid it. There is water. Other than that, don't go here. There isn't much to see. And once the railroad came through in 1905 and a community began to develop, there was a small Jewish community. One of the most prominent members of that community in the early years was named Adolph Levy or Levy, and there was nothing to tell us whether he was Jewish. You could guess, maybe, but even then you don't know for sure. And he owned several businesses in town and said Las Vegas was going to be a big city someday. And this is a research story, but I was trying to find out, was he Jewish? And I found an obituary that he was buried at the Prince of Peace Cemetery in Whittier. And I called and I said, are you a Jewish cemetery?
That's Whittier, California.
Whittier, California. And they said, yes, we are. And I said, well, just to be safe, has anybody ever kind of snuck in? And they said, no. But what was helpful was that they were able to tell me that where he came from, because it varied from census to census, because he had come from Prussian Poland. And so the borders kept moving. But there was a growing community that by the early 30s, there were enough to form an organization, the Sons and Daughters of Israel, that included the Gordon family, the Waldmans, the Goldrings, and the Wieners. And another decade would pass before there would be a temple starting in 1943, and it actually incorporated as Las Vegas Jewish Community Incorporated. And that was Temple Beth Shalom. And, of course, Ner Tamid comes along close to 30 years later. And by that time, there was a much bigger Jewish community that included professionals, lawyers, business people, but also,
Those guys.
them. Mr. Siegel was not alone, but a group who came here who saw in Las Vegas an opportunity to build a community, and they built a community among themselves, a Jewish community, but also a broader community, and they brought here the attitudes that the rabbi is going to talk about in terms of what we set out to do.
They love their mother.
They love their mother and their doggie.
So, Rabbi, how do you reconcile where we are at the moment where Dr. Green has gotten us to? How do you reconcile Jewish values with those people who came here, helped build Las Vegas, and contributed in a lot of ways, including philanthropy and building of institutions such as temples, and yet at the same time on their day job, we're going around doing other stuff?
Well, I think you have to look at the history of Jews and occupations in general. One of the challenges is that Jews, because of anti-Semitism, were precluded from a lot of occupations, the university. A lot of things that were more onerous were left for the Jews, but other things were not. And so Jews tended to be into professions which did not involve owning property because they were literally always on the go. They would become merchants and peddlers, and this would later evolve as they became more secure into professional life. But before we got settled and secure in America and developed into professors and rabbis and doctors and all that, there was that in-between stage. And so you did have the Jews of Cleveland and New York and other places that, well, they got themselves into a profession where they could make some good money, but they didn't want that for their children. They wanted their children to be legit. And if you remember that movie Casino, they said Las Vegas was a great car wash. You know, they would come here dirty and they would go through this car wash and then they would be legit. So these unruly people became legit. Our old religious school on Emerson, I hope many of you remember. Do you remember who it was named after? It was the Mo Dalitz, M.B. Dalitz Religious School, because M.B. Dalitz donated money not only to the Scouts, but to Congregation Ner Tamid. But he also was influential, of course, in building Boulevard Mall and Sunrise Hospital. So they were involved in philanthropy and also, you know, creating that aura of Las Vegas where everyone who's been here a long time says, you know, it was so much better before it became corporate. You know, everyone behaved themselves and you could get comps. It was so much nicer. How many of you have been here, you know, before 1975? All right, do you guys remember those days? The ones who have been here before 1975, how many of you think those days were so much better? Yeah, same people. I don't know why that always seems to be the case, but it is.
Michael, what the rabbi talked about was one of the reasons, or several reasons, why the Jews got into some of these activities. And in a way, though, Las Vegas benefited because you had construction, you had institutions that tied the Jewish community together. From your perspective, do we reach another level then once the sons and grandsons of those original, I'll use the word pioneers, to Las Vegas, does the flavor change and yet the Jewish contributions to the history of Las Vegas continues, or at least I'm assuming that, so I'm going to ask you that.
And the flavor changes, and we address that with the good old days when we could get a comp. And that's not a
and
function.
Free parking.
Free parking, no resort fees.
Right.
You just paid at the tables. And I think that the evolution of Las Vegas and the evolution of the Jewish community are tied very closely. I think in terms of growth, for one thing, when you see the graph where it's a line just shooting up, this is true also with the number of Jewish people in southern Nevada. And so there are, I would call it improvements in our image and our lifestyle, you find more Jews involved in the professions. Not necessarily, Mo Dalitz had a daughter, but she has become a writer. She's not here. Suzanne is not here, but she is a writer. And you can go down the list. I think Carl Cohen's kids. Carl Cohen was at the Sands, and I guess is immortalized for punching out Frank Sinatra. There was a little discussion in the coffee shop one day, and it didn't end well for old Blue Eyes. But his kids went on into the professions. He got black eyes. He did.
And some missing teeth.
And some teeth that were looking like they had to be collected off the floor. But Cohen's kids, they did not go into that business. They went off into, I think one became a theatrical producer, if I remember correctly. Another one was involved in medicine. And what the rabbi said is correct. They did not want for their children what they had to do. And that is going to change Las Vegas as well, because they're going to branch out. And in terms of someone like Mo Dalitz, who was in the casino business, but also got into real estate and was active philanthropically, this was true of the entire community, and I think it just continued to mushroom as that community got bigger and Las Vegas got bigger, and Las Vegas began to worry a bit more about its image.
I'm going to ask both of you this question. Michael, from the historical point of view, and Rabbi, from the spiritual point of view, would you name 2 to 3 Jews that you see contributing the most to Las Vegas, whether they're living now or not? And I'll start with the rabbi, from the spiritual point of view.
Well, I don't know about spiritual.
Okay, never mind. Michael,
No. Because I'm not quite sure. I have to think about the spiritual.
Well, let me
but
rephrase
what
it,
I
Your
would,
Honor.
but I'm going to tell you who comes to my mind
All right.
first, and that's Hank Greenspun. Okay, so he's my number one. Now, when you say spiritual, I did not meet him except once before he died, because I think he died in '89. I came in February '88. He probably would not have described himself as, quote, a religious man or spiritual. But on the same token, he did more than any other Jew in the state of Nevada for the state of Israel, because he made sure that during the time that it mattered for Israel that they would have weapons. And so he got in trouble with the U.S. government for running arms during that War of Independence and received a pardon from JFK. So I wouldn't say that he was this great spiritual leader, but I would say that he was an incredible Jew and lover of Israel. And then the green in Green Valley, of course, is for Greenspun. And eventually, when we needed to move here, I had to talk to his widow and the family, and they agreed to donate the land here. So it deals, in a sense, ironically, with our spirituality. And I'll never forget what Brian Greenspun said to me. He said, you know what? This was zoned to be a shopping center. And he said, the world doesn't need one more shopping center. It needs another synagogue. And that's exactly what he said on this handshake deal when we got this.
So he may not have been spiritual, but he provided a spiritual area, a land, and an opportunity for spiritualism to grow.
Yes. Yes. And they were, of course, very involved before joining here at Temple Beth Shalom, and of philanthropists from ADL, Israel Bonds, and the list goes on and on. And so that's why I say I can't really think of anyone who comes to mind as this great spiritual person, but I can tell you that there are a lot of Jews who helped build Temple Beth Shalom and helped build Ner Tamid who felt that culturally and religiously they were Jewish, and they wanted to make sure that the Jewish community here was strong. And pretty much as it mirrors my age, in the 60s when Israel was in trouble, that was the magnet. And you could go to Temple Beth Shalom and they would have Israel bonds, and the casino executives would come and they would make sure that those coffers were full in the old days, and that the Federation gave a lot of money to Israel and to Israeli causes. Some of that, of course, started to wane in the 1980s and 90s, but early on, strong.
Michael, what about you from a historic point of view or historical point of view?
He took mine.
He did.
Well, I'm going to connect it.
But I did say name two or three, so you can.
Well, he's going to get the
that.
spiritual one. Maybe he figured out spiritual.
I think you may be one of them. I'm quite serious about it.
That's kind, but I don't know.
Well, I do know that there have been many rabbis in this community. I do not know of one who has been here longer. Was it 100 years, you said?
100 years.
100 years. That would be 1919. That was a pretty good year. You look great.
Thank you.
But, I mean, over 30 years, that, I think, is the longest tenure for anyone who has led a congregation. And there is, I think, based on my knowledge of the Jewish community, that this is seen as a congregation that is a leader. So I would put you in that category. Now, I'll go back a little further and I'll weave in a Hank Greenspun story. But I was going to mention the Katzes, Lloyd and Edie. Lloyd Katz was sent here to run the Huntridge Theater around 1951. It had been open since 1944. And he desegregated it. And this was before he had to. And the main movie theater in town that was owned by the former mayor at the time was segregated. Well, he did that. And he and his wife, Edith, got very involved in a lot of causes here. Were involved in starting the Jewish Reporter, involved in getting us involved in Holocaust education. And there is a story that I was told by Hank's attorney, Ralph Denton, who heard it from Lloyd Katz. Among other things that Hank Greenspun did was serve as kind of the, as we say in the casino industry, the shill. He'd help the house. Well, one year in the 60s, Temple Beth Shalom was in trouble and needed money, and there was a meeting of the leaders, and Lloyd Katz went on about how vital it was to solve these problems financially. And Greenspun finally said, I can't believe it's this bad. I pledged $10,000. And everybody applauded. And when the applause died down, Lloyd Katz looked at him and said, great, Hank, when are you going to pay last year's pledge of $10,000? And Greenspun looked at him and said, you mean my credit's no good in this joint? And as it turned out, Edie Katz told me that Hank would do that, and someone else would say, well, I'll do 10, I'll do 10, I'll do 10. So he got them involved. And there is that spiritual connection and that business connection. I'd also mention a portrait out in front here, the Macks. Nate Mack came here around 1929. The dam was about to be built. He got involved in all kinds of businesses. His son Jerry went off to UCLA, and Joyce Mack will tell you that when she married Jerry, she thought he was going to be a Southern California businessman and have nothing to do with this desert outpost. But here he was. And the arena at the place where I work is the Thomas and Mack. And I think Perry Thomas gets more of the attention, having been the main banker. But in fact, Jerry's father, Nate, was on the board of the bank and helped put Jerry Mack in there to do the real estate. And that helped that bank a lot. The money that Perry Thomas could lend to businesses comes in part from the real estate. And for your amusement, Thomas told the story that they were once picked up at the airport in a limo, and as they drove down Tropicana near what is now University Center, Thomas jabbed Mack in the ribs, and wait a minute, he leans forward and says to the driver, who's that big arena named for? And the driver said, oh, two of our great players on the Runnin' Rebels basketball team. I thought they deserved that, really, I did.
Well, we have just a few minutes left, so I'd like to get from each of you a prediction in terms of the contribution of Jews to the ongoing history and future of Las Vegas. So we'll start with Rabbi.
I think when you look at where we've been and where we're going, there's going to be a parallel there. So Steve Wynn, who we didn't talk about, even though his legacy has been tarnished, he was the visionary for modern Las Vegas, Jewish. We talked about the Mlaskys, who are huge in terms of real estate. And we have others who have been leaders now. We have Jackie Rosen from this congregation, who's a senator. We have Alyssa Kadish, who's a Supreme Court justice. We had Mike Cherry, Shelley Berkeley. So I think we're going to be involved in everything that is important, whether it has to do with education, technology, and politics, and community, and charitable giving. The Jews will be a part of it, and I think we're going to take great pride in that.
Michael?
I'll second that, and I'll add that if you think about the days when Mo Dalitz and Davy Berman and Jack and Tratter were the Man of the Year for B'nai B'rith and involved in raising money for Israel and raising money for the synagogue, they saw Las Vegas as their opportunity, the car wash. They could come here. And with the growth of Las Vegas, I've often compared it with a dog I had who was an incredibly ugly dog. He was adorable, but he was ugly. And when we got him, he was all feet and head and no body. And he grew into his feet and his head. And that's Southern Nevada. We have a large population, but it has grown so fast. I think as we build more of a community, we are going to see exactly what the rabbi talked about, and Jews taking the lead in a lot of that, coming in with a great sense of community and the desire to give back, and directing it even more toward this area as more people get accustomed to being here. I'm looking at the younger people who are growing up here. I grew up here. At one time, if you said you grew up here, you were about as rare as a unicorn. And that is changing, and I think that will continue with the Jewish community as well.
Well, we're not going to end the conversation. We'll certainly continue after the services, but I want to thank both Rabbi Axelrod and Dr. Michael Green. Thank you.
And we want to thank Ira for being our moderator. So thank you all very, very much. Stay tuned for our next compelling conversation. Can we announce our guest yet? Not yet. We're working on someone very special, and that will be announced, and it'll be in the middle of January. So that'll be our next one. Let's conclude with our final song. Allison, where are you? Thank you so much for being here with us. It has been a joy and pleasure to listen to you. And Ricky, thank you so very much. She flies into town. We got to put this all together, and she's just a true professional. So lead us in our final song, if you would.
We're going to all join together in Oseh Shalom. So put your arm around somebody, make it sweet and nice and happy and all that good stuff. You can stand. Oseh Shalom bimramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Ya'aseh Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom.